Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Monday. It is the first Monday of the MLS regular season. Games kick off this upcoming weekend. First match week of the year. Lots of things to talk about with Atlanta United, with all the other teams around MLS, moves, rumored moves, injuries, all kinds of stuff. And we'll get into all of that today. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the game yesterday in Birmingham Legion and Atlanta United. We'll get into your thoughts and your questions about that. Jarrett Smith was not with us in Birmingham. He missed our great show at Ghost Train Brewing with Jay Heaps, president and GM of the Birmingham Legion. Magic City Brigade hanging out with us. It was a lot of fun. A lot of Birmingham Legion talk, but some Atlanta United talk and just general conversation as well. A lot of it was previewing the game and kind of looking ahead, but if you get a chance to go back and check out either the podcast or the broadcast on Twitch, watch for the interview with Jay Heaps. It was a long conversation and a really good one about, kind of everything Birmingham Legion and what they're trying to build. It's a really ambitious club. I think, where they moved into in Protective Stadium, it's an ambitious move. It's a big stadium. Very, very new. This was the first soccer match in the building. I think the turf kind of showed that it was very, very new. It was a little difficult at times to adjust because it was very slow, which was interesting. I think Atlanta United took a lot of things away from it. I think Birmingham will also, but they've got time. They got March 12th for their home opener. So it was a productive day on the pitch. Jarrett, you watched it from home. What did you think of everything yesterday?
That was a lot of fun. Hey, I thought Atlanta showed up for war, so they didn't get embarrassed. That was fun.
Oh, boy. Look, let's first off, I think the amount of traffic for said columnist of AL.com probably paid off. I think that was the intention.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely achieved its goal. More power to him for it.
No, it definitely the mission was accomplished with that.
Oh, absolutely. Not even mad about the mission.
And look, Joseph Goodman is the columnist at AL.com. Wrote a book, We Want Bama. It's good for Birmingham Legion.
Which is also never the answer, by the way. You don't want Bama.
No.
Unless you're UGA last year.
Thank you.
You don't want Bama.
Thank you. I was about to get upset with you, Jarrett, but you recovered well. Thank you. No, it's good that you get that kind of stuff. Yes, I know some Atlanta United fans maybe got a little too bent out of shape about a fun column in a newspaper previewing a friendly match. But again,
and it was that. It was fun.
It was fun. It was over the top. It was geared to generate clicks, and it did. So more power to Joseph Goodman.
Yeah,
for making that happen.
I don't mean to demean him or be mean to anybody. It was fun. It was. I read it. I'm like, oh, here's where we're going. Cool. Because here's the thing. For those of you that don't follow this organization outside of the top team, and that's okay. No one is holding you to an unnecessary standard on that front. If you don't pay attention to the twos, that's all right.
You don't have to be degenerates like us. We encourage it. We welcome you.
But if you have other things to do in your life, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, man. Atlanta United 2 and Birmingham's damn rivalry. So if
it is.
Else,
not as much as Memphis, as we learned, Jarrett. That was one of the big takeaways from our trip to Birmingham. Is the Magic City Brigade not fans of Memphis? It was a cheap pop every single time, but it's because you look at the team that Birmingham has built, and Alex Criniale left his mark on Ezequiel Barco when he played for Columbus. He was the person who kicked him off the side of the field and put Barco out for an extended period of time in 2019 after coming back from the U20 World Cup. He's a very physical player. Anderson Asayadu plays with a gigantic chip on his shoulder every time he plays Atlanta United or Atlanta United 2. I thought actually Anderson was really good yesterday. It was the best I've seen him play. Mm-hmm. but it's always physical. It's always chippy. And then they went and added the master of chippiness in Enzo Martinez, who's a wonderful player. I love Enzo Martinez as a player. He's going to give Birmingham an opportunity to be more than I think just a physical kind of direct team. I think he is just he's a player. He's a great player. Shocked that he didn't stick around in MLS.
Once in his life.
No, he doesn't shut up. He knows how to draw fouls. He knows how to commit fouls. He knows how to get his shots in. He's a tricky player. He's 31. He's still very, very good. But that's going to up the chippiness quotient from Birmingham, but also up the ability to play quotient. So, yeah, I mean, the column was over the top again
when you
in terms of it's
friendly. Your hearts for a column.
But John, that was the purpose. But no, you're saying that like it's like he did something wrong. He knew exactly what he was doing when he wrote it.
Absolutely, he did.
Okay. I want to be clear in that. We're not taking shots at Joseph Goodman. He got a lot of traffic for the game and for Birmingham, and he got a lot of traffic from Atlanta United Twitter, which I do believe was the intention, and he retweeted all of it afterwards, or at least most of it. There might have been a few that he probably shouldn't have retweeted. Yeah, it's a friendly. It's friendly. There are a lot of things about it. It's a friendly. It's fun. Birmingham will be a difficult team in USL Championship. Birmingham will be a team that Atlanta United could see in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Birmingham in the second round will play the winner of Southern States and the Georgia Revolution, two NPSL teams. Winner of that will go to Birmingham in round 2. You would expect that the Legion would advance there. They'll be favored, and they could face Atlanta United in round 3. That could very easily happen. And it won't be an easy one. I don't think the scoreline yesterday really indicates anything from that, because yesterday Birmingham wasn't even 3 weeks into their preseason training. Mackie Jope arrived in Birmingham Saturday night. Some other players arrived last week. It was very early on. I was surprised some guys went as long as they did. They didn't really have a lot of options because you have a pretty new academy in Birmingham. You had one academy player who played yesterday, but you don't have a lot of the extra depth that Atlanta United was able to progress guys throughout the preseason. Play 30 minutes, then play 45, then play 60. There were a few guys for Birmingham. It's like, yeah, we know you're going to be tired after 45. Just do the best you can. We don't have anybody else to put in for you. Good luck. And that's kind of what it turned into. So as the day went on, the legs were gone. I thought the legs were gone at the end of the first half, and it helped lead to a really well-worked goal for Atlanta United. And as the game went on, yeah, the legs are gone. Second half, I don't think the legs ever came back for Birmingham, really, because you cool down and you're trying to get going again, and that first 15 minutes was brutal. They had some good play in the middle of the first half where I thought Atlanta was struggling to kind of find its way and find its chemistry. But as the day went on, the quality showed, and Atlanta United beat a team that they should beat in preseason.
Yeah, you beat a team that you're at the end of your preseason, ramping up with the regular season coming up, in less than 7 days now. Around 7 days, almost on the dot. Now you're in a situation where Birmingham is just now getting theirs underway. They're trying to get everything going. So yeah, it went about like I expected it to. Atlanta still created, which was one of my things that I wanted to see, and one of the things we talked about that we wanted to see was them creating chances. I thought they did. It just happened to be an issue that the turf wasn't really. I think the word you used was settled.
Yeah,
it was just a little slow. So they created those opportunities, but then the pass was a little bit slow or coming up a little bit short. That's the sort of thing you're hoping that if you're playing on a more settled surface, you'll be okay with.
I'm almost wondering if, and I don't know how they've handled that turf. They played a bowl game on it. UAB played their entire season there last year, John?
They did.
So 5-6 games?
Yep.
So I don't know if they had any other events.
The high school championships were played at Protective this year as well.
Okay. So 15 or so events before this.
Yeah.
I wonder, because of all of the infill that we were seeing come up, even at times where it didn't feel like it should, I wonder if they added more after the football season and it just hasn't settled, or it wasn't, like spread out effectively, all that kind of stuff. It felt like a very slow grass field, very slow, like a thick grass field at times, because every pass was coming up slow. The ball was kind of checking at times. It was weird.
It reminded me of 2019 season opener in DC, where DC like just didn't cut the grass for like 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
Atlanta was you do it that way to stop a team that played like Atlanta, which played counter to what 2019 DC played, but it kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, it wasn't 19. It was the game in late 18 that they did that. It was warmer. I remember it specifically because after the game, the mowers come out, and I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah, I mean, Birmingham is going to be in the facility all year for soccer, from now until actually USFL is going to be played there. The entire USFL season is going to be played in Birmingham. But they're going to play some of it at Legion Field as well. So it's going to get spread around a little bit. But for a while, it's going to be soccer only. It's a great soccer facility. I think it works well. It's a good size. Would not be surprised if they get games. I think they're going to have to figure out the whole thing about putting grass over the turf that a lot of people do. But they can get some club friendlies. I was talking to Mike Conti about this after the game. And it's like, if I'm a promoter and I can bring in Guatemala or Honduras or El Salvador and play a friendly there, and they'll play on turf, I'm going to book it and I'm going to make money because you're going to get a large crowd. The Guatemala U.S. World Cup qualifier at Legion Field in 2005, I remember driving over for that, and there were cars with Guatemalan flags from Atlanta to Birmingham and then coming from all over. It's a huge Guatemalan crowd. It's the perfect size to be able to do those kinds of things and do really well with it. So Legion's in a bigger stadium. It's a big move for them. Yesterday was a big day for them off the field. I think it was the start of things on the field. For Atlanta United, it was a big day in a different sense because it was the dress rehearsal for opening day. What did you take away from it, John?
Well, I mean, you look at how the first goal was set up. And for me, you look at the pressure and the counter pressure, and you see moments like what we saw with Luis Araujo and Fenuel Cavita, where if you're still missing pieces in your attacking third, there was no Thiago Almada yesterday, there was no Marcelino Moreno yesterday, before everyone is going to get to full song, it might have to be that pressure that creates opportunities. And I think that, Cavita, you see activity coming out of the corner of your eye, and I think that Luis Araujo's pressure created a moment where Fenuel Cavita thought and was thinking quickly, and he ends up with a back pass, and Van Oekel's not ready for it and goes into the back of the net. I think that at least early on for Atlanta United, you may see this defense creating opportunities for short fields offense and shots on net. So if everyone's not there, I think that you might be seeing the defense creating more opportunities early on than anything else. And I'll stipulate already, I think that Luis Araujo is going to be a problem for a full season here in Major League Soccer for everyone else. I was really impressed once again with what we saw from Luis Araujo yesterday, not just offensively, but defensively as well.
Yeah, sounds familiar. I think I might have been talking about some of that yesterday on the broadcast.
Yep.
Look, I think this is an important element. One, I want to separate pressure and counter pressure because Atlanta United's going to play with the ball 9 times out of 10. They're going to want the ball. They're not going to give the ball away to be able to press. Where they're going to be, I think, very strong is in their counter pressure when they lose possession and then try to win it back and create havoc for the opposition. Because one of the times in a match when you're at your most destabilized in a team is when you immediately win the ball back, because you've had to move around defensively to get to the ball, right? You're not shaped. You're not organized. So you immediately win it back. This is why teams counterpress, because if you do it effectively, in that moment where the opposition wins the ball and tries to get their bearings, you've already closed them down. You've already taken away the easy plays. So then they have to think quickly and they have to react quickly and they have to be brave to deal with that pressure. Well, I mean, Fenuel Cavita in a moment where, look, it's their first preseason game. He's been in camp for, I don't know if he was there day one, but he's been in the team before, so probably easy for him to be there on day one. Not even 3 weeks of training, and you're playing at a pace that you haven't played at in preseason yet in your first game. And yeah, you get caught, you make a big mistake. And Birmingham's not a team that really plays out of the back much anyway. So that pressure, yeah, it's a gift from Kavita and it's miscommunication with Van Okel. But to say that, Atlanta did nothing to create it is incorrect. It's the pressure that creates it. And it's really important. Araujo is excellent at this with his pace and his willingness. Look, a lot of counter pressure is the willingness, because what do talented players want more than anything? They want the ball. They want to be able to make magic happen with the ball. The greats are the ones who can still do that, but will put in that work on the other side. And some guys, more than others. Some guys are just more willing to do it than others. Araujo is somebody who I think really kind of thrives on it. I think it gets him going when he can make plays defensively. And he made a play there. And you saw the reaction. I think the reaction is really important, and it's telling, because this is planned. This is organized. It wasn't a, the opponent made a big mistake and it's an own goal. Let's just walk back to the center circle. Let's go congratulate Luis Araujo because he made a play. I think early on with Almada still getting his visa situation sorted out, with Ibarra and Sosa getting their green card situation sorted out, which will help the roster in a big way. With guys coming back from injury like Moreno, like Lennon, the chemistry is going to be a work in progress. Doesn't mean you can't play a style that is still true to what you want to do, because you're going to counter press all the time. Maybe that becomes your playmaker a little bit early on as you're trying to get comfortable on the ball. So something I talked about a lot during the game. And I think what it comes back to for me, and we saw it in the second half, we didn't see it as much in the first, because of the strong counter pressure, because of the ability to win the ball back in dangerous spots and put teams under that and make it difficult for them to play. The attack can take more chances than they did in the first half. In the first half, as the chemistry is not there, I think you saw it a little too deliberate at times. Not able to find the openings, not able to create the space. Birmingham dropped and defended well too. Let's give them credit. But you weren't able to open it up. And the passing was maybe a little too safe at times. Second half, it didn't feel that way, because the passing got better, but also the pressure still ramped up. What they have to understand is, okay, you have a giveaway in the attacking half in the final third. One, you've got a back line that can run like crazy and can cover up for mistakes. Two, you've got guys who are willing to work hard to win the ball back. So yeah, try that pass, try that through ball. Doesn't come off, win the ball back, and you might be in a better spot there, further up, in a dangerous spot where the opposition is destabilized because they just want it back. They can take chances, and they're going to make mistakes in passing and in the final third. That will improve as Almada gets in here, as Moreno gets in here, and as those relationships build. But for now, if that pass results in a turnover, it's okay. Win it back, and you're still going to benefit from making the pass in the first place. That's the key. And I think it's something that came in the second half, in that first 15 minutes when everybody was fresh. And I would not be surprised if that was part of the conversation at halftime from Gonzalo Pineda. Believe in the work that you guys have put in to defend, to counter press, all of the work that they've done since day one of preseason. Believe in that and take your chances on the ball and in the attack, because you can make up for it if it doesn't come off. And Jarrett, that's something the start of the second half, we saw a couple of quick goals, and it felt like they were more decisive in the attacking half and making decisions quicker and playing faster.
It did. It felt like it was okay, now let's ramp it up and let's be lethal about this. And then they were lethal about it. And it was really fun to watch. It was really fun to watch them to be problematic. So that quick strike that you're used to seeing when they're on, and that hasn't really mattered with manager to manager. That when they start really feeling themselves, it starts getting really quick, and it starts turning on another team very quickly, where it's, okay, we're fine. Oh, and the kitchen is actually on fire right now. We're going to have to go address that. I do want to touch on, Mateo Setsu though, in the second goal, the first goal that Atlanta put in the back of the net as own goal got a good run out. It's excited to see own goal get some time, getting warmed up for the regular season. But the Setsu assist to Joseph's goal was just. I enjoy watching a situation where somebody gets in a situation where they're not trying to do too much, because it can be really pretty and work out really nicely just like
that. Yeah. Osetsu becomes really important in this group. I think he's a starter with everybody healthy, because he's the guy who can allow you to defend with 6 and be the one to help break out of your defensive half in possession. And he's the one who can pop up in those dangerous spots. And if he adds that element to his game this year, where he can be more of an additional playmaker in some positions and can be that true mixed midfielder, he's going to get talked about a lot. And I think he's finally going to get the respect that he deserves. I think another guy we got to talk about yesterday is a guy who delivered that ball over the top, who had a couple of assists. You can throw the hockey assist in too, Amar Sejdic.
Amar Sejdic kind of felt like the guy who might be on the outside looking in, and
he was.
He absolutely did everything in his power in the dress rehearsal to be part of the conversation.
He got the opportunity because Franco Ibarra was injured in the last match, and he's away getting his green card. And I popped up Alex Pacine's comment about the getting green cards and how much it helps with the roster side of things. Alex said, but it has guys be away at the beginning of the season, so it's a trade-off. In this case, it's not, because Sosa's still recovering from sports hernia surgery. He's not ready to play yet. He has been participating more, but he would not be ready to go. We haven't seen him in preseason. He wouldn't be ready to go on opening day. And Ibarra was injured in that match against Chivas, and he would not have been able to play yesterday, and he probably would be out for opening day. Now, I don't know how long that injury was looking like, but in this case, you've got 2 guys who wouldn't be part of the team at the moment because of injury who are able to go away and get their green card. So the timing works out a little bit. Sejdic gets the opportunity, and Sejdic was, I thought, one of the players who was looking to make things happen, sometimes forcing it, sometimes giving it away when it didn't come off. But he had a couple of things really come off. The ball over the top for Osetsu with the back heel to Joseph, and the ball chipped in that he timed perfectly, knew exactly what he was intending to do from the late run, with the late run of Ronald Hernandez, who everybody else holds their ground. Hernandez makes the late run. Nobody goes with him. Everybody freezes, but he timed it perfectly, and he puts it away. Sejdic had the last assist as well to Joseph. Sejdic was great. And Sejdic is that he's been on the outside looking in. He's played with the second group throughout preseason. We've talked about this central midfield group and how talented it is, and the competition for spots. You've got a Amar Sejdic right now, while you don't have Ibarra, you don't have Sosa, you don't have Emerson Heinemann. Okay, you might need him in some of these spots. And you might not need him as much later. He's got to make that case to earn more time. I think Ronald Hernandez has done a really good job with that. I talked about it on the full-time report. I think Hernandez has done a lot here in preseason to do 2 things. I think it's a 1A, 1B situation with him and Brooks Lennon, which I would not have thought it would have been coming into the season. And I think he's done enough to keep the job while Lennon recovers. When Lennon gets fully healthy, then we'll see. And Hernandez has got to keep the job because he's got somebody right there next to him. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for this team. It's not a bad thing that Ronald Hernandez has claimed the job for himself right now. And it's not a bad thing that Brooks Lennon will do everything possible to win it back. That's what makes the team better. You need that. Emerson Heinemann's joined into some team training sessions, which I didn't know. Found that out yesterday. He's not ready yet, but he's a little bit further along than I thought he would be. He's going to want that job that Mateus Osetsu has. He's going to want that job that Amar Sejdic had yesterday, and he's going to fight for it. And again, that's a good thing. And Mateus Osetsu is not going to give that job up. He's going to fight for it. The depth is important. It feels like an ongoing conversation, John, at times with, Atlanta has no depth. Atlanta has tons of depth.
Yeah.
They're one of the deeper teams in certain parts of the field. I think they're deep across the board, about as deep as you can get in this league. But depth at times, in Lennon and Heinemann's case right now, with 2 guys on the outside looking in because of injury, it's a different conversation. With somebody like SDH, that's why you want that depth. Mm-hmm. So when you have to call on them, if he has to play as a 6, he can play the 6. If he has to play as an 8, more of a deep lying playmaker at times like he did yesterday, he can do that. If he has to step up a little bit higher, he can do that. Is he going to be a starter in this team? I don't think so. But can he be a valuable part of the team at times in the season? Yes. And you need those guys that understand what their role is in being depth.
And you can say the same thing about a guy like Mikey Ambrose, who we've seen so far in training camp play the position that they need him to play. I mean, he's playing center back in preseason because we need you to play center back today because of injuries and what have you. And to have the challenges that you have on a daily basis when everyone's healthy, to have that kind of a challenge, it will make everyone sharper. And since I'm here in Birmingham, I'll go ahead and say iron sharpens iron for the local sports reference. But when you have that kind of when you have that kind of competition, it's a good thing when everyone's there because you're going to be challenged every single day, Monday through Friday, leading into match day, because something might happen to where you might have to have someone go in because of an injury or what have you. But to have everything ready, regardless of injury or just for the sake of competition, because the way the schedule is structured, having to start things early, getting the season over for everybody to be prepared for World Cup, folks being lost because of national team duty, all these different factors in a season.
You don't have as much of that this year, John. You don't. Let's slow that down. It's not a schedule like last year. The schedule's the schedule. It's the same every year. You play 34 games. You have a postseason. You have an Open Cup this year. Okay, that part's different. You don't have as many midweek games. None of that doesn't matter. It's sports. It's sports. How many times have you seen a team come into a season and they have a great starting lineup? It's wonderful. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. If they stay healthy, they're going to win every game they play. Oh, wait a minute. Now they're not healthy.
Right.
2018 Toronto. Come on down.
Yeah, they should have won the CONCACAF Champions League, but they went into a final with no center backs.
Correct.
And that's not their fault. Like, they actually just had awful luck with injuries. They did have depth. Where I get worked up about a team's roster construction, we've talked about it with Charlotte, talked about it with Toronto this year. There's other teams in the league that fall into this where you don't have depth. You don't have bodies to play certain positions. That's a problem. Yeah. You can get into I wish we had better depth. Well, I wish my lottery ticket hit last night too, but it didn't.
You both, brother.
That's a different conversation. But you at least got to fill out the roster. Atlanta's been full. When we talked all off season about, where are all the signings happening from? Well, they were already done. Carlos Bocanegra told us this on the last countdown to kickoff of the season before the NYC game. He's like, we've got most of our work done going into the offseason. Got a lot of guys under contract. That's a good thing because you don't have a manager saying that they're screwed. You're not. You've got competition, which is what you want. You don't want to deal with injuries because nobody wants that, but they're going to happen. And they're going to happen no matter if it's a compressed schedule, if it's one game a week for 34 weeks, whether you have no cup competition, whether you make a deep run, whether next year you got Leagues Cup that's going to take a month away, whether guys get called up and miss games, although that should not happen at all this season. No, it shouldn't happen at all because you won't have you might have a Miles Robinson or a Brooks Lennon or I guess if things get really crazy, a Brad Kazan with the U.S. men's national team in a 3-game window in March, where the third game might be backed up against it. Okay, that gets a little tricky. You won't have that with South America. You won't have that with any other international windows. So maybe one game gets affected for U.S.-based players. But you won't have as much of that this year. Doesn't mean you don't need as much depth. You always need depth. And you need guys who understand roles. Brooks Lennon and Ronald Hernandez are not here to sit and watch. They're here to compete for playing time. Mikey Ambrose, and I don't know why I'm getting feedback all of a sudden. Mikey Ambrose and Alex DeJohn understand their role a little bit differently, I think. They're further down the depth chart. They're here for very specific reasons. They're here for improving training sessions a lot of times. Mikey can play a bunch of different positions, which is really important. They understand it. and they know what they're getting themselves into with that role. That was something that Pineda talked about last year with DeJohn specifically. DeJohn's going to help George Campbell a lot this season. And it's also a veteran that, if, hey, they're not playing as much, but if they have to go into a situation, they've been there and they've done that and they can handle themselves. So you need different kinds of depth, but you got to have some depth. You got to have depth, period. Any season you go into, you got to have it. Atlanta's got that this year. And it's going to get really interesting because I don't think it is a locked in starting 11, even if everybody was healthy today. I don't think it's a locked in starting 11 all year long. I think you're going to see a number of guys start games, Jarrett, because Brooks Lennon and Ronald Hernandez are going to fight for time. Emerson Hyndman and Mateus Osechu and Amar Sejdic and everybody in that central midfield are going to fight for time. Caleb Wiley's going to fight for time. Caleb Wiley's had a great preseason. He's going to fight for time. You're going to get guys. George Campbell's not going to want to sit around and watch. He's going to want to fight for time. So you're going to get competition, and I think you're going to be able to ride the hot hand a little bit at times if you're Gonzalo Pineda with that competition. Guys show out in training. I think they'll get rewarded with time in matches.
Yeah, I would think so. And the two sides of that coin, and it's the side of the coin that people don't like to talk about as much. But hey, if you struggle, there's someone behind you. It could be somebody really showing out in training. It could be somebody in a funk in the starting 11 who, they struggled last game. Okay, well, we're going to give them some time to kind of get their head right. And until they do that, it'll be somebody else stepping in. And then that fight for time shifts to somebody else having to fight for time. And there's multiple guys who will push. I was really excited to see Ronald Hernandez play well. As much as, we've been fans of what Brooks Lennon is and can be and has impressed. Having somebody there who can take those opportunities and run with them, that's huge. Not even a matter of, if you favor one guy or the other. Ultimately, you want the team to succeed, and having two guys you can throw in there at any given moment and you trust them to get the job done is a wonderful feeling, and hopefully he'll keep doing that. Also, I was practically screaming at my phone watching the third goal, the little chip from Sejdic, because you just I'm sitting there when he's looking at it, and it almost felt for a split second like he thought, no, he's not that open. Oh, he is. I guess I'll just do this. Because the Birmingham line held, and then they just kind of talked. It's like they had a conversation telepathically that lasted comically long before he finally hits the chip. But I just kept thinking, no, yeah, whenever you're ready, bud, just go. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, everybody kind of froze. It was funny. But Hernandez made a late run, and Sejdic dropped it into a space to take advantage of it. I think that's something you'll see early on. I talked about this on the full-time report. I think that's something that you'll see early as the chemistry starting to build is your outside backs will get involved in the attack more than we're accustomed to, and not just from a wide position. I think Hernandez will come inside. I think Gutman will come inside. I think Wiley when he gets the opportunity, Lennon when he gets the opportunities. They'll come inside into the 18 and be goal-scoring threats more than we saw early last year where it was about width. This year, you get into that final third, and if teams are keying on Joseph, if teams are keying on Moreno or Almada or Araujo, that opens up an opportunity for Hernandez, for Lennon, for Wiley, for Gutman to get forward, and not just to get forward to put in a cross, but to get into the 18 and score a goal. And I think you're going to see more of that. That's something I think they can lean on early on as well, where, the rest of it's going to take a little bit of time. You got to get the visa done for Almada. A bunch of teams are dealing with visa issues. Birmingham was dealing with it with Mackie Jope. That's why it didn't arrive until Saturday night. You got players who are missing players right now. You got teams who are missing players for a few weeks as they're trying to get visas sorted out. It's different every country. It's not even just a U.S. thing. Costa Rica's had issues with this in their domestic league. It's just difficult because of COVID and issues with that and personnel issues and all of the millions of different things that are affecting it. So Almada will be here. I don't know the time frame. The green card situation, you got two guys who would miss time right now anyway. They're getting that sorted out. That's kind of a win-win. Hopefully when Ibarra is back, I think he'll be able to participate quicker. I think Sosa will probably still need a little more work to get back into it. But you talk about signing for depth. Osvaldo Alonso becomes really important because he's already taken up that leadership role in this team. I don't think he starts more than 20 games this year. I'd maybe going up a little bit from where I thought it would be. He started 15 last year. That's what I was expecting. He's been so good. You might start him a little bit more. You don't want to limit Sosa's development, but you got to get Sosa healthy, and you don't have to rush. And that's the takeaway for me in preseason with development of guys that we saw, like SDH playing well, like Hernandez playing well. Tyler Wolff didn't have a great day yesterday. I thought he's had a very good preseason. Wiley, you've got guys who can hang and can play at this level. And when you have a Moreno coming back from injury, when you have a Lennon coming back from injury, when you have the long-term injuries with Sosa and with Heineman, the longest-term one, you don't have to rush them back because you don't have ready-made replacements. And that is a huge benefit. And having somebody like Alonso who can step in and do what he does in that midfield, he's built a good connection with Osetu. To be able to do that, and you're not missing Santi Sosa as much, really, really big help. And I think your veteran guys that we've talked about when it comes to a guy like Almada coming into the team, coming into the league, a lot of pressure on him. Alonso is going to be key in helping him settle. He's going to be key in helping Caleb Wiley adapt to this level. He's going to be key in helping guys, I think, be their best. And he's going to be able to do that on the field, but he's also going to be able to do that in the training ground and locker room and all that kind of stuff too. So good day at the office yesterday for Atlanta United. They got tested. They had to work. They had to figure some things out. And they did. And they solved the problems. Look, that's what this game is. It's a problem-solving exercise because every match presents new problems. And I think what Atlanta United was able to do yesterday is they were able to solve the day's problems. All right, they couldn't find openings. They, were kind of static at times in the first half. Cool, let's take more chances in the second half, and if it doesn't come off, then we'll win the ball back quickly with our pressure. And I thought you started to see more of that as time went on. You got some good performances. I think you got a true dress rehearsal. That's why you didn't see a whole bunch of subs late. You wanted guys to figure out how to play with 90 minutes of action on their legs. You need to get that in before you get ready for Sunday. And now you've got Sporting Kansas City coming. And John, this is a team that was very good in the Western Conference last year. They will not have Alan Pulido. They do have Johnny Russell. They do have Daniel Shallowy. They have a lot of veterans in this group. But they're still figuring some things out as they come into their first match of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I know that a lot of folks sit there and are looking at the Alan Pulido absence and then the striker that they picked up as the individual that they're hoping can contribute up top. But, how does it look without an Alan Pulido? Does it take a little while for Sporting Kansas City to get to full song and figure out those relationships outside of what would they already know with what we've seen from Johnny Russell? So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting chess match with Peter Vermes coming to town. I'm looking forward to seeing how Sporting Kansas City looks with the different players up top. And how do you take if you're Atlanta United, how do you take what you've learned from the dress rehearsal and bring it forward? And so it's, is it going to be one of those where it's a low scoring game and you see the chess match between Gonzalo Pineda and Peter Vermes, or does it end up going the other way? That's what I'm looking at for this first 90 minutes coming up on the weekend.
I mean, Jarrett, you've talked a lot about Sporting Kansas City and their wide players, and that's the strength of this team right now with Daniel Shallowy, who had borderline MVP kind of season last year. He was that good, best year as a pro by far. And he had Johnny Russell, who has been great.
Should have been in the MVP conversation. I'm not saying he should have won it. He should have been in that conversation for top 5.
No, Shallowy should have been in there ahead of him. But Russell has been that good for a long period of time, and at times gets overlooked. That's your strength. And wide players who can come in and score goals, these are not just wide players who put in crosses. These are guys who get goals for themselves. That's going to be different than some of the teams that Atlanta's faced in preseason. And it's going to be a challenge for your Andrew Gutmans, for your Ronald Hernandez's, but also that holding midfield, dealing with additional bodies, making those diagonal runs. I think Ozzy Alonso becomes really important in a game like this too.
Yeah, I would say so. Ozzy's going to be Ozzy's in a interesting situation in that you talked about. You want him 20 games, maybe. Well, you're in a
I want him
situation now where
15. I'm bumping the number up now. I'm saying maybe 20 starts.
you're in a situation though where you have enough depth behind him that you don't have to feel like you have to play him a ton. Right. You can pick your spots with him, and you don't have to stretch him out. I don't know how much he has left in the tank. I'm not going to be the one to sit here and tell him he doesn't have anything, though, because he's kind of terrifying in that way. But that being said, I think you can be strategic about how you use him in this situation, especially. You can ask him, hey, just I need you to go out there and I need you just do your thing, and then we'll address how you feel week to week. We got guys who can step in if we need to, and you can be that mentorship role that we need you for, not just with the first team, but I got guys. I got giant int-shaped defensive midfielders with the second team that could use somebody like you. I got. I don't know. We talked. You talked up. Ever since we saw Noah Cobb play defensive midfield, like we've opened up a new wormhole to look into.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But
however, know what this looks like.
However, though, right now, all that's well and good. You've got depth and you've got guys who can fill in, and you didn't sign Alonso to be a starter this season. But right now he is, because Santi Sosa's injured. And Sosa was your starter in that position last year. I think Sosa is your starter in that position going forward. But right now, Alonso does have to start, and he does have to play these minutes. And this is why you make a signing like that. And I'm sure this was part of the equation when Santi Sosa had to have his sports hernia surgery. Is okay, we've got somebody who can step in. We're not worried as much about it because we're going to go get a veteran who can help us early where he's got to be a starter. But then later in the year where maybe he comes in and gives you a true defensive double pivot late in games. Maybe he comes in to close things out in situations. You can use him situationally later. He's going to be a great locker room guy. He's going to be a great mentor for the young guys. But early, he has to be a starter. And he's shown in preseason that, nothing to worry about with that. Nothing to worry about with pace of play. Nothing to worry about with any of it. On the ball, clean, really good. He's not holding back in terms of trying to win the ball back. He's hunting the ball all over the midfield. That was another element yesterday that, I mentioned. I should have highlighted it more thinking about it. The counter pressure up high was really good, but that midfield winning the ball back in the middle third, and Alonso's a huge part of that. Hasechi Sejdic, they picked up so many balls in that portion of the field and started their counterattacks from the midfield area with winning the ball in there. Alonso becomes really key there. But early on, and midway and second half of the season, I'm with you. I think Jarrett, he is that depth piece, and you can use him when you think it's a matchup that you need him, or you can use him off the bench. Right now, Osvaldo Alonso is your starter in the holding midfield, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. By the way, I want to make my case real quick. I'll keep this to 20 seconds to make my case. What do you think Daniel Shalhoub's goals and assists were last year?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to say.
I cheated because I.
Well, hold on. I'm going to guess at least. I'm going to say 12 and 8. 12 goals and 8 assists.
16 and 8.
Wow. I knew he'd gotten the goals were flying in. I didn't know they were flying into that degree. That's impressive.
You know what Johnny Russell's goals and assists were?
That one I don't know. I'll say 11 and 6.
15 and 8.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
It's one of the reasons. You didn't have Alan Polito last year, healthy, which seems to be a recurring issue for them. The reasons they were able to do what they did. We talk about the wide players. Yeah, it was two wide players, damn near both of them, damn near going for double-digit goals and assists, and it's going to be a lot of work for the defensive midfield, for anybody who's tracking back, and for the Andrew Gutmans of the world and the Ronald Hernandezes of the world.
Yeah, the outside backs are going to have work to do in this one, and they're going to be pinned in more than you might think. Couple of things, and I'm gonna be clear in this because I'm gonna talk about it all year, because it comes up every season, and it comes up anytime when Atlanta doesn't create a ton of chances through possession. Atlanta United's going to be a possession team, folks. That's the way they're going to play. It's the way they've always played. Go back and look at the numbers under Tata Martino. They were not some counter-attacking team only. They wanted the ball. This is always going to be a team that wants the ball. That doesn't mean, as we saw in 2018 with a team that I think was second or third in the league in possession, doesn't mean you don't have counter-attacking opportunities. But you don't want to limit yourself. So, yeah, this team's going to have the ball a lot. And this team is going to have to break opponents down who sit deeper. But what they have added is a really organized defensive posture after the ball turns over. And we go back to the 2019 era with Frank de Boer, where he had a slower back line and he had to protect them. They couldn't try to win the ball back high up the field because if they didn't, you're exposed. Go watch the goal from Cincinnati in the home opener in 2019. You didn't have the pace to play that way. You got the pace to play that way now. And you've had the preseason to work on it. So you're going to create quick turnovers and chances out of that pressure. You're going to create counter-attacking opportunities out of winning the ball in the middle third, like we saw yesterday quite a few times. And you're going to create chances from possession. Possession's not a bad thing. I hate that becomes a conversation that we have to have on a regular basis. There are different ways to play. Every team's going to find it. But when you go out and you sign a Thiago Almada and you sign a Luis Araújo and you have a Marcelino Moreno and you have a Mateus Rossetti, who's one of the best passers in the league, and you have an Osvaldo Alonso, who's one of the best passers in the league, and you have fullbacks who are good on the ball in Andrew Gutman and Ronald Hernandez and Brooks Lennon, you don't want to take the ball out of their hands, off of their feet, to be specific in this game. You want to give them those opportunities. Doesn't mean you don't create counterattacking opportunities. Don't get me wrong. Those are great. But you're not going to purely play for counterattacking opportunities, and they should not. That would be trying to play a style that doesn't suit what they have. You want the ball in these guys' possession. And you do want to create some counterattacking opportunities when the time presents itself. It's okay. But I think this is going to be a ball-first team, and they have been from day one. I don't think that's going to change anytime. I think that's how you want to develop players from the academy. It's how you want to develop young players. That's how you want to continue to develop this team. But yeah, you want to have different weapons that you can use in different ways. Atlanta now has a higher counter-pressing, trying to win the ball back than they have ever had coming into a season. It wasn't this good at the beginning of 2017. It wasn't. This is going to be better. And I think you have a midfield that is even better than that one in terms of winning the ball back in the middle third and creating these opportunities to go along with ball players. So it's the best of both worlds. That's what you want, because you're going to get into games, John, where, look, like yesterday, you're not able to find the connections. Teams are defending well. They're defending deep. Okay. You're still going to try to play. But yeah, you might have to manufacture a goal a different way. It might be that pressure from Luis Araújo, and it's a 1-0 game because you forced an own goal because of pressure. 3 points are 3 points. But you want as many ways to win as possible. I think Atlanta's done a pretty good job of creating a team that can do that.
Yeah, you mentioned Ozzy Alonso as a part of it, with my standard amount of notes that I usually take when I'm looking at matches. You look at Alonso waving folks forward, creating opportunities, combining with Rossetti combining with Alonso again in the first half. So it's all of these different combinations and ways that you can get things done. And obviously, when you have all of these different guys that can do all of these different things very, very well, you don't want to limit yourself to something that might be counter to their abilities. And I think that, once again, we talked about early on, until everyone's healthy and you have that starting 11 that you have in your head, sometimes it might have to be done a little differently. And it was done differently yesterday, and you end up with 4 on the board, although that, Jarrett mentioned that own goal got their portion of it too. But you had different guys contributing in different ways. And I think that that's key going forward, because it will help you out as you go down this season.
Jarrett, are you leaving us at 10?
Yes, I am.
All right. What do you want to say to finish off your contribution to the show?
Well,
what's so funny about that?
I think he's just laughing at the way I said it.
Yes, that.
It's going to be interesting. You talk about the midfield to see how they handle everything, because you're in a situation now where more teams like to press. And if teams are going to step up and apply that pressure to your back line, you've got guys who can handle the ball at their feet. Brad Gazin can handle the ball at his feet. It's going to be hard for a team to run a full press when you have a Joseph Martinez playing that back line or dancing on the edge of that back line. They're not going to want, I don't think, to always play a super high line. I'll allow you to have a Miles Robinson or a Brooks Lennon, whoever it may be, hit that long ball again. Remember, let's not forget, Miles Robinson has a very filthy long ball at times when he wants to just go over the top. If you're playing a high line, you can let him basically throw up Randy Moss style for a guy like Joseph Martinez to run underneath it.
Newsflash: so Alan Franco's got an even better one.
Yeah, I don't mean to slander.
And honestly, George Campbell might have the best of the three. To be perfectly honest, George Campbell might be even better than the other two. In playing that long
George
diagonal.
Campbell yesterday, because my favorite thing that I saw from that game yesterday from him was there was a situation in the first half where it was a long ball, and it was Campbell one-on-one with, I forget the name of the striker, that giant, like the ostrich
Eddie Horvath.
Yeah,
he's going to be
you
good.
Would expect him to be.
I like
faster
him,
than
yeah.
you would think.
Yeah.
But George gets locked into a one-on-one with him, where if he loses it, then Homeboy's in on goal by himself, and he holds up very nicely, draws the foul. Good job from George. But my point being, as I finish this off, when teams press high but don't want to push that lineup to play a high line, middle of that field is going to be open. That if you can clear that first line of pressure, that midfield is going to have chances to get the ball, turn, and run at defense, and assuming you don't get the Red Bull style of, oh God, they broke, foul now, which will happen.
I mean, Atlanta will do that a lot, and you've seen it in preseason. It's okay. Look. I think the biggest thing when we get into this kind of like theory and whatever, and how teams play and all that, there's games within games. There's moments within games where Atlanta's going to want 60% of the ball in a game. You'd love to have that because you're going to be in control of it. But there's going to be a 15-minute stretch in the first half where the opposition has 60% of the ball, and you got to defend more. The overall number for the game is an overall 90-minute number. It doesn't break it down by each segment. And those segments become really important. And I think what you have with Atlanta is a team that can play in all of those phases of the game. And they're going to have to. And sometimes different phases are going to be stronger than others. And I think right now, early on, you're going to see the moments where they're out of possession be very strong and very important. They're going to need to capitalize on those. But they also do need to be strong in possession, because it is a fact that it's harder to score if you don't have the ball. You can do what Luis Araujo did and press and create an own goal. You can create a quick turnover where you don't have much possession, but you score a goal out of it. Yes, all those things are true. But it's harder to score goals if you don't have the ball. So there's times where the possession does become a little bit of a defensive tactic and allows you to control the game. I don't think Atlanta will be using it purely just to keep it. But when you have as much of the ball as Atlanta wants because of the players they have, it does become a controlling tactic. So thank you, Jarrett. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. You got one more thing, or are you out?
No, I'm done. I was just...
okay then.
Bye.
Well, geez.
Wow. Bye.
Good grief.
Wow.
Get out then.
Wow.
Man. Okay, Flava Flav. All right, you ready to tell us about Eliminize, John?
Sure, without copy. Let's see how long this promo goes.
Oh, geez. You might talk for 5 minutes without copy. We're in trouble now. Tell us about our good friends Eliminize.
For realtors, property managers, and for you, if you are looking for your way to get rid of odors all the way down to the molecule and not mask them, like our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, there's one place that you need to go. It's Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Eliminize has a very green solution for you, kind of the environment, works everything down to the molecule, helps realtors and property managers turn their properties that much faster by using Eliminize Service. very, very common and consistent way for realtors and property managers to use something like Eliminize that will help them take care of odors. Once again, not masking, take care of it all the way down to the molecule for you. Pricing can be done one of two ways, by parts per million or by cubic foot. Results 24 hours or less when it comes to Eliminize service. And if you have any questions whatsoever, frequently asked or otherwise, when it comes to their very green way of tackling odors, go to their website, eliminize.com, and do us a favor here at SDH. Go /Atlanta after eliminize.com so they know what part of the world that you are asking your questions from. The website, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. One place that you need to go. Realtor, property manager, homeowner, choice D, all the above. It's Eliminize Service. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Eliminize.com /Atlanta.
You did go longer without copy.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, John.
I did not know that.
You're going to have a clock running next to you. I swear we're going to have to set that up.
Can we do a clock?
No, you're going to have to do it. You might not be able to do a clock. There's a thing on your phone probably allows you to.
Oh, yeah.
Stopwatch
function. That's true.
Crazy thoughts. Just saying. We're not going to put a clock on the screen. No.
That's what I was asking. If we're
no.
Clock.
No.
Stopwatch. Okay. So I do have a stopwatch function on my phone. There we go. Okay. Good to know.
Every phone does. Unless you have an old Nokia flip phone thing that might not. Even those probably do. Anyway, we got other stuff to get into, other MLS news to talk about. We'll get into some questions here in hour number 2 as well. But news of the day, Houston Dynamo chasing Hector Herrera from Mexico and Atletico Madrid. He'd be a designated player. He's out of contract in the summer. He hasn't played a ton at Atleti this year, 14 appearances, 6 starts. Offer on the table. Sounds like there is a little bit of progress according to Tom Bogert from MLSsoccer.com, but nothing decided as of yet. Houston did buy out Joe Corona, former U.S. men's national team midfielder, this weekend. Curious to see where Corona might land within the league, but that opens up roster spots and they have room to work if Houston's able to get Herrera. I don't think they'll get him before the season starts. I think they'll probably get him in the summer on a free. Minnesota United got the deal done for Luis Amarilla coming back. He was here in 2020, had an ankle injury, only scored a couple of goals. He had promised 25 before the season, but injuries and COVID made that a little difficult. He's back after a really good year at El Quito, where he scored 15 goals. MLS Soccer has an incorrect statement here that they won the league championship. That is not true. That is not true, Independiente del Valle fans. Don't go yelling too hard. You can yell a little bit. He'll be a designated player. Signed through the 2023 season, options for 24 and 25. LAFC signed Canadian men's national team center back Daniel Henry as a free agent. He had been in the K-League with Suwon Blue Wings, 41 appearances, 35 starts there. They have a lot of defenders now, and it's probably the first time this has ever happened in their club's history, to the point that I'm wondering, does Henry take Mamadou Fall's spot? Does Eddie Segura go to the bench? What is the backline going to look like for LAFC? Because they have so many different options. LAFC with Steve Cherundolo is going to be a really interesting watch early on. And there is this apparent, although it's not getting talked about a ton, even though he did an interview with Football Americas, Carlos Vela, some kind of rift or issue or whatever. Like it's been whispered about all offseason. Vince La Rosa talked about it from an LAFC podcast. Vela made it clear he's not exactly ecstatic about things. Okay. Like, could we get a little bit more information? I don't know. They're going to be weird. They're going to be weird this season. I don't know. RSL signed Johan Kappelhoff, formerly of Chicago, spent 2016 through 21 with the Fire, 31 years old, Dutch center back, 147 games with Chicago. He is going to RSL for the season and an option for 23. Kai Kamara is back, signed with Montreal, 15-year MLS veteran. He's been with everybody pretty much. Pretty much everybody in the league. The expansion teams, I don't think he's been with all of them yet. He hasn't been in Atlanta yet. But he is back. They have a ton of depth up top, Montreal. I was a little surprised Montreal was where he landed because Mason Toye, back from injury. Bjorn Janssen hasn't ever really clicked there. Romel Kyoto can play up top, but he can play wide. Wilfred Nancy with another attacking option now. Ryan Spalding, a New England Revolution 2 player, has signed a contract for the 2022 season, moves up from Revs 2 to the first team. San Jose signed their draft pick from Clemson, Oscar Agren. 1-year deal, 3 options on it. So options in 23, 24, and 25. They traded up to get him, $100,000 in GAM and a second-round pick to DC to get Agren when he was available. So kind of a no-brainer. They were going to sign him. Portland, on the bad news side of things, Felipe Mora out through early April. Successful arthroscopic debridement surgery of his left knee. That's a new term for this morning. 6 weeks is how long he will be out. April 3rd is the possible return date for Felipe Mora. They have Nishikoda, who will probably be the starting number 9 in his stead. U.S. women's national team won 5-0 yesterday over New Zealand. Good bounce back from the scoreless draw against Czech Republic. Own goal hat trick from Michaela Moore. A lot of the conversation worldwide has been about that. I mean, you got to feel terrible for Moore, but I think Vlatko Andonovski was clear on this. Even though you had those, the way the U.S. were building up opportunities was much improved from the Czech Republic game. Much, much improved. He said the final pass, the distribution inside the attacking 18 was something that they did a lot better and they'd worked on. That has to continue to improve with this young U.S. women's national team. This She Believes Cup is really about these young players getting an opportunity to impress. And I'm glad they had a better performance than they did in game 1, which wasn't a great one. Some other news around the world: Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, the Super League trio is going to do a series of friendly matches in the U.S. this summer. It appears, ESPN had this morning, AC Milan could be the 4th team in a preseason tournament. Venues have not been decided, likely to be played on the West Coast. And quite a few cities really want a Real Madrid-Barcelona Clasico in the U.S. out on the West Coast. They've done it before, and it's always drawn well in this country. They're trying to make money. Look, all these clubs, every club had massive losses due to the pandemic. So these are clubs that have toured the U.S. before. They want to play games in front of big crowds and make a lot of money. Makes a lot of sense. So be on the lookout for those games this summer out on the West Coast. Pep Guardiola wants to extend Raheem Sterling's deal with Manchester City. Lucas Vazquez of Real Madrid wants to leave. He wants to play first-team football so he can make Spain's World Cup team. Memphis Depay has admirers in Milan, both Milan teams, and Juventus. And it looks like Juve is going to try to get a deal done with Paulo Dybala. They had a deal, then they changed it, and then presented the revised deal to him that he did not agree to. He was not happy with. Now it looks like they're going to go back to the original deal, but they want Dybala's agent to give up a large amount of the commission he'd make on it. We'll see, because Dybala would be out of contract in the summer and his agent would stand to make a lot of money if he is a free agent and can sign wherever and would make whatever commission he wants. So stay tuned. You're going to see more of that. You're going to see, I think, more players playing out their contracts and agents making the money rather than transfer fees being paid. I think that's going to just increase and increase. And that's why FIFA has got involved and has proposed a cap on agent commissions. We'll see how all that goes. Awful news for Gio Reyna. Another injury. Got the start, left in the 28th minute. Does not look good. You'd have to expect he's not going to be part of the U.S. men's national team in the March qualifiers, the vital qualifiers. This has been awful luck for him. Tweaked muscle. I don't think there's any update on him yet. Marco Rosa said it doesn't look good and he feels terrible for him. He was in tears coming off the field because he knew it's back to the drawing board again, recovering from an injury. It's just awful luck. One other thing before we get into questions, the PFA in England is now on the concussion protocol conversation after Robin Koch, the injury he sustained in the loss to Manchester United. Blow to the head in a collision with McTominay. He was cleared to continue with his head bandaged. Bielsa said that the cut that he suffered was what they were focused on initially. He then had to be substituted after 31 minutes because of the concussion. You could tell he wasn't right. Taylor Twellman was tweeting about it. He would know. He understands this better than probably anybody out there. The PFA has reiterated its calls for the introduction of temporary substitutes. Now, we had this conversation back when the initial concussion protocol rules were changed to allow additional substitutes for concussions. And there were studies done at that time. This is where I think conversations that build on themselves are very important. There were studies that came out at that time, and a lot of people signed off on it, that the additional 10 minutes or whatever it is for a temporary substitution did not give you enough certainty that you would be able to make a diagnosis. And that was why they didn't go temporary substitutions. They went with more permanent substitutions for concussions. Now they want temporary substitutions. I'm good with both. It shouldn't be one or the other. I'm good with both. But they have to figure out how to set that up. They have to figure out the mechanism of that. I believe rugby has it, and I think that's where the studies came from, that there were misdiagnoses of concussion situations with the temporary substitution and with no temporary substitution. So it doesn't guarantee anything. It gives them more time to look at it. I'm fine with adding that to what is already in place with concussion substitutes. If they can set up the mechanism to do it, the protocols, the way it goes, all of that, I'm cool. That's good. But it shouldn't replace having additional concussion substitutes. Ultimately, it's going to come down to managers. And ultimately, that's who it's going to fall on. And at least now you're giving them more room to make the right decision. If there's any question, you take the player out. That has to start happening. The mentality has to change. We can give temporary substitutes. We can give permanent substitutes. We can give 5. We can give 10. We can give 15 minutes. We can give them 30 minutes for temporary substitutes. All those things are great. And they give more tools to managers to be able to make the decisions. The managers have to make the decision. If I got a player who doesn't look right, and yeah, protocols allow me to put him back in, I should probably not put him back in general. You need the help for the managers. Yes, I'm good with that. I don't want them to say, well, I can't afford to waste a substitute here. You got an extra substitute. That's not a concern. Well, I need more time to have him assessed, and I don't want to play shorthanded while he's being assessed. Okay, if that needs to be the thing, then add the temporary substitute too. That's fine. Okay. But ultimately, the managers have to make the right decision. They have to. And you could tell pretty easily, whatever your protocols were, they failed. The temporary substitutes thing is not a magic fix. If it is an additional tool to get to the right decision, great. All the tools necessary to get to the right decision. But somebody's got to make the right decision. And you got to substitute these guys. And now you're not being punished for having a concussion in terms of your team. If you're the manager saying, well, now I got to blow a substitute. I only have 4 more if we're playing with 5. I only have 2 more if we're playing with 3. Like, I can't afford to make the substitute. No, you don't. Can't use that one anymore. You just have to make the substitution. And that's what it comes down to. If they can figure out the way, and you're going to have to do it with the independent medical personnel, and they're going to have to approve the temporary substitute, and okay, get to do it. And if there's a time period that they get to do it, okay, you got to figure out what that is. Is it 10 minutes? Is it 15? Is it 20? Is it 30? I don't know. All that's great. Set it up. But it's going to come down to managers substituting these players. And that's who's going to make these final decisions. So I think they have the tools to do it. But if you want a temporary substitute to give them even more time to make the decision, that's cool. I'm fine with that. I liked the temporary substitute idea initially. I really did. That's where I was on it until I started to read some of these studies about, well, you do that and you still don't really know, which is accurate. I mean, from my experience, when I had a concussion, Well, I know I had concussions before and didn't know what they were when I was younger, like probably a lot of people. But when I had a concussion and I was hitting the back of the head with a ball while I was coaching, I had a bad headache. I felt awful. If I was playing in a game, I might have played. I might have kept playing because I didn't know. I drove home. I wasn't like incapacitated by any stretch. I had a headache. I had a headache going in. It was like April, it was October. So I was still getting sinus stuff. I had a headache, had a worse headache. All right, I got hit in the head. I get it. But my real bad symptoms didn't come until the next day, which does happen. So I don't know if the temporary substitute is the fix, because I don't think there is a fix outside of substituting players that you're worried about having concussions. And now you've got enough tools. If you need to add another one, I'm cool with it. But it doesn't fix it. It just puts more pressure on the managers to make the right call. And Koch needed to be substituted. You could have told it straight away.
And that's, for me, that's the key in all of this. It's great that you have the concussion substitution rule that can aid in a player not being pushed back out immediately, you know, the whole rub some dirt on it, scratch your head and you're back out there kind of a thing. But it's there, and I like the idea that it's there to assist, but it comes down to the player sitting there and understanding things may not be 100% with you and denying yourself the idea of going back out there to help your team because your own personal health is part of this discussion. You have to look out for yourself as a player, and the coach has to look out for the player and the team and what's best for the player long term. And for me, it does come down to these coaches sitting there saying, look, we want to take care of you. You have to be looked at. And just because you feel better 10 minutes later doesn't mean that you're still better. And I think that having coaches who are strong enough in their own thought pattern to sit there and it's like, okay, I need to take care of this individual. And I mean that in the sense of literally their own well-being. So I think that it comes down to these coaches sitting there and saying, and just putting the match aside, putting the short term aside and thinking about the long term for the individual. And it's more than wins and losses that we're talking about here. You're talking about the long-term well-being of an individual. And so I think that the coaches have to just get this and grasp it by the collar and go, look, I have to look out for these guys.
I want to take it to a different place here just for a second before we jump into some questions, because yes, there is a long-term thing here. There isn't in every concussion situation. I don't want to mislead people who haven't had a concussion.
Right.
They're all different, as people have shared on the Twitch pitch. You know, people have talked about, you know, having memory loss. I didn't have any memory loss when I had one. Mine hit later with the symptoms to where it felt like my head was going to cave in. I felt like I was on hour 30 of a bender. Like I felt drunk. Everybody, there's different things, and there's so many things that we're still learning about it, like where you get hit, how you get hit, what your history is of getting hit in the head. Some people can get hit in the head and it's nothing. Some people can get hit in the head one time and have a debilitating concussion. It's not always about long term. That's not even the play here. I don't want that to mix into this. And managers did need to be given tools to make better decisions in this, because this is not American football where you have unlimited substitutes. It's not any other sport where you have unlimited substitutes, any of the major sports. I know rugby's different. I'm not a big rugby guy. I'm sorry. You have limited substitutes. So you needed to give the managers the tools to not have to make a harder decision of, I only have 3 substitutes. It's the first half of a World Cup final like 2014. And I can't afford to make a substitution here unless I have to. And then you find out that you have to, and you wait it out. We need to give the managers those tools. Giving the concussion substitutes, not the temporary ones, just the substitutions, to where you're not going to blow a substitution for it. That was vital. That was vital. if temporary substitutions can be proven that this will help in that decision-making process, great. But the PFA coming out and saying this now, there are studies the other way. We need to have the conversation in a bigger picture about now that the managers have the tools, they have to use them. They don't have a temporary substitution. Okay, you're not going to lose a substitution if you have to pull Robin Koch in the first half. You're going to get that sub back. You're losing a good player. Absolutely. But if he did his knee, you'd pull him out. If he, broke his arm and you got blood spurting everywhere because it's a compound fracture, he's not going to play anymore. Easy. Well, he can't play with a concussion. And you could tell that something wasn't right. You got to make that substitution. Now you're not being penalized for it. So I understand the temporary. I understand the fear and worry and all of that. I get it. But the issue here is that he wasn't subbed. Temporary substitutions, not having him didn't prevent them from making the substitution. He can't play. He can't help the team. You don't get penalized the substitution. Make it. Period. Got to be more careful. There is potential long-term issues. Absolutely. But in that instant, you're not thinking about that if it's any other injury either. You're thinking about, can the guy help me on the field? Well, if it's a physical injury, yeah, you might want to see if he can run it off, whatever. Okay, I get that. If it's an ankle sprain, can he finish the game? Yeah, he might be able to finish the game. Might be able to tape that up. Okay, cool. Let's test it. Jog on the sideline. That's cool. You don't get punished with losing a substitution anymore. The issue is not the failure to have temporary substitutes. The issue is that he should have been subbed. Period. That's got to be the conversation about this. You can't deflect the blame. And I love Marcelo Bielsa as a manager. I love what he's brought to the game about the conversation. He's got to know better. And his medical staff's got to know better. And they got to make that substitution. That's the problem. It's not about the temporary substitute thing. That's deflecting. If that can be proven to be helpful, do it. But you got enough tools to deal with it, and you should have. Concussions are again, it's not like other injuries. Like, you don't see it. Even in this case, he gets, cut. You can have a cut, not have a concussion. Okay, that can happen. Not every hit in the head is a concussion. That also needs to be understood. And some don't look bad, but have the worst concussion symptoms. And that can be a problem. You can do everything right. And I'll go back to the Eric Remedi one in Montreal. 2019, I think. You can do everything right with pulling the player off, running through a battery of tests on the sideline, checking it out. Everything seems good. And then 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, whatever, you can watch him on the field. I was paying very close attention to Eric Remedi when he came back into that game because of my concussion history. I thought he was fine. And then he sat down because he couldn't continue. And you can do everything right and still get it wrong. And if you have a temporary substitution, it's the same thing. Ultimately, when you believe the player's concussed, and I think with Koch it was pretty obvious. When you believe the player's concussed, he's got to be subbed. Period. And now that you have the concussion subs, you got it. And Byrne, you're right. And Bielsa did talk about this a little bit. Byrne says, I think the Leeds medical staff was so busy taping the cut up, they totally neglected to check for the concussion. He kind of alluded to that. He said they were more concerned about the cut. Look, and maybe they made a mistake. Maybe that did force them to make a mistake here. Okay. I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they're people who don't take player health seriously, and none of that. But ultimately, whatever the reason, you got it wrong in this case. And they got to fix that. But I don't think temporary substitutes are the magic fix. It comes down to the managers making the decisions. It comes down to medical staffs, but the manager is the one who writes the sub card. And you're never going to take that away from them. You're not going to be able, I don't think, to approve a situation where an independent medical doctor forces a substitution. That's going to be very difficult to have go through in this game. It's just, it's going to be very tough for that to be approved, and managers are going to blow their heads about it, and it's going to get crazy. I think you just have to understand there has to be education for managers. It needs to be part of coaching courses at youth levels all the way up. Concussion awareness. It has to be a bigger thing, and you got the tools now to deal with it. So, sorry, that's the soapbox. It went a little bit further than I was thinking, but it's just it's something that has to be handled. In a statement today, the lead said their club's medical staff, quote, have always been in favor of temporary substitutions for head injuries. Again, that feels like a deflection. They got it wrong yesterday for whatever reason, and I do think the cut affected their thinking at the time. Okay. Put your hand up and say you got it wrong. Temporary substitutes don't fix it. Still got to make the sub. So we'll see. Leicester City's board backs Brendan Rodgers despite their slump in form. I don't know if that's a good thing. That might be that. We'll see. We'll see. They believe that injuries and recruitment are seen as the major reasons behind the struggles this season. We've got a title race in England. I know John's very excited. Tottenham beat Manchester City. Liverpool won. It's a 6-point gap.
Match in hand for Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Manchester City's going to win. Don't worry about it. I think
so too.
But that's all the headlines. We got a title race. It's February 21st. We should have a title race. PSG lost in France. Second loss of the season to Nantes. They've got such a lead in France. It doesn't even really matter at this point. They're all about winning Champions League. Brazil, Atletico Mineiro won the Brazilian Super Cup. 8-7 on penalties. Went 12 rounds. 2-2 draw in regulation time. Go check out the highlights for this one. You had goalkeepers taking penalties. All kinds of chaos. Turco Mohamed got the start to his managerial career in Brazil that he wanted, winning the Super Cup with Atletico Mineiro. Took over in January because managers change like it's musical chairs in Brazil. Cuca did really well for Mineiro. He's gone. Turco Mohamed comes in and he gets the Super Cup. Mexico, again, Santiago Solari, not in a good position at all. Club America lost 3-1 to Pachuca. Players are arguing at times on the field. They are 1-4-1 in the Clausura, 16th out of 18. That ain't acceptable in Mexico City. And now there are some very, very loose rumors that they are looking to replace Solari with Andrea Pirlo. I'd be down for that. It'd be exciting. They're going to have to replace him with somebody because, woof. Independiente del Valle lost the Libertadores U20 final to Peñarol. That went to penalties. Perfect Tommy says a missed stutter step penalty. Oof, that's the worst. That's the worst. I mean, you got to have the guts to try it when you're going to go for those unorthodox penalties, and you got to accept the consequences. But, yeah, when you lose on one of those, oof, that hurts. That hurts. All right, we'll get into questions from the Twitch pitch as we wrap up the show this morning. It's going to be a busy week for us. It's going to be a busy week in general. First match week of the season. Wednesday, we've got stoppage time in the afternoon like we always do over at 92.9 The Game. Kelly Francis, friend of the show, is starting her new podcast Wednesday night. I'll be a guest on that. We'll keep blasting that out so you can join us for that live. Then Thursday, we will be on the road in Lawrenceville for our first official live tour stop, but third live show of the season. Whatever. We're doing live shows all over the place. Scott Fletch just got to get ready to book us in more places. But Scott has set this one up. Kelly will be joining us for that in Lawrenceville on Thursday evening. Friday night, we're in Vidalia for Toombs County at Vidalia, a big rivalry in South Georgia soccer. Then Saturday, the MLS season starts, and Sunday, Atlanta United season starts. So
it's true.
I got cases of Red Bull on the way.
Attaboy.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, we'll get into some questions here. Let's go to Mizzano. Let's play devil's advocate. What is the case for not having unlimited subs at the pro soccer level beyond this is the way it's always been? It would change the game dramatically. I mean, that's the reason why you don't just do it because you want to. Would it benefit the game? I don't think it would, because I think one of the things about the sport that is special is the combination of fitness and skill that it takes. And if you can just sub everybody on the field. Now, you get into unlimited subs, like how you want to do that. Is it unlimited reentry? Then it's like a high school game or a college game. And look, what can happen is you get a lot of fresh legs, but you have disjointed play. And when you see in friendlies, for example, and you see 5 subs at one time, it takes time for that team to build the chemistry on the field. I think it results in a worse product, in my opinion. I think 5 subs as the go-to now going forward should be the way.
Yeah.
I do think that's fine. It gives managers more of an opportunity to affect the game without losing the things that I think make the game special. I would not want to see just unlimited, you can sub everybody on the field once if you had a 22-man game day roster, for example, and everybody can be subbed. I would not want to see that. I think the energy level of the game would pick up, obviously, because you'll have fresher players, but I don't think the quality of the game would pick up. Look, would you adapt? Yeah, probably, but it'd be a long process. I like 5 subs. You can change half your team on the field. I think it can make the game better, and I think that should be the way going forward. But no, I would not want to see unlimited just subs all the time. And then, it still doesn't change the injury conversation, because you could make a sub and then somebody could come on for 5 minutes and get a concussion. You know what I mean? So I think you are in a good position with 5 subs going forward. Doing college games, doing high school games, and you get all the subs all the time, I don't think it makes the game better. It's not about quality of players involved. It's just the quality of the game. You can trust me, and I recommend this to everybody. Don't get hung up on level. I know one of the knocks that a lot of really cool guys on the Bird app will try to throw out at you is, I don't watch MLS because it's a minor league, because it's not the best league. That's the new like anti-soccer thing in the US, is it's a minor league. I think somebody on some other portion of the Bird app that I don't follow started that argument, and some people have gravitated to it. Those people will also watch a Maction game on a Tuesday and tell you how great it was. Funny how that works. You can watch a game that's at a lower level and be thoroughly entertained, and you can watch a game that's at a higher level and be bored to tears.
Correct.
The level of the players involved doesn't make it a better game. When you talk about high school games, I've been thoroughly compelled by high school games, and I've been thoroughly bored by high school games. They're all different. Every game's different. You never know what you're going to get. That's the great thing about the sport. But the substitution nature of the college and the high school game, I don't think helps it be better. I think it actually breaks up chemistry and breaks up continuity. And I'd like to see that changed. I think at the youth level, I'd like to see that change too, when you get into maybe the U17s and you're talking about it. But yeah, that's my response, Mazzano. I don't think it helps make it better. And it's not just it's the way it's always been and I like it. It's not that. It's just, I think we've seen now that 5 is a good number to work with. I'd love to see it. And I think more than that would result in more disjointed play like we see in some friendlies. So that's where I'm at with it. Colonel, observations from Birmingham. I'd hope for a better crowd. Beautiful day, beautiful facility. Hope the Hammers would get more. It's early for them. They got a month until the season opener. Really focusing a lot, if you're Birmingham, on selling tickets to that game would have taken away. You're talking about a much smaller sales staff than in Atlanta United. It would have taken away from their efforts to sell season tickets, which is going to be their ultimate driver. So it was tricky. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Maybe our incendiary column could have been put a little bit earlier in the week. Maybe it would have led to more ticket sales.
I think they still ended up with over 10,000 yesterday.
I would have guessed over 10. I don't know what the number ended up being. I don't know if there was an official announcement. But yeah, just looking at it, eyeballing it, I would have thought more than 10, which is good. Again, you're talking about a club that was playing in a 6,000-seat facility before. And just being in a bigger venue will get more attention, but it'll take a little bit of time. So I get it. I would have loved to have seen more too, but I get it. I kind of understand why it was what it was. Colonel is upset about, as much as I hyped it up, Milo's is not for everybody. He says, what a burger for the win at exit 144. Colonel, you are incorrect, sir.
Wow.
No, you're not. Milo's is not for everybody. Whataburger's not for everybody. Nothing's for everybody.
Correct.
I liked Milo's, and I'm glad a bunch of people checked out Milo's.
Did you get your burger as you thought you were going to on the way home?
No, I had Milo's on the way in. We talked about this.
Oh, and you got to Buc-ee's on the way home.
Yes, I did post this, and there were Atlanta United shirts and stickers and cars with flags and everywhere at Buc-ee's. It was a takeover. It was a 17s takeover at the Buc-ee's in Leeds, Alabama. Even saw the Forest kit in the Buc-ee's at Leeds, Alabama. It was very cool. But yeah, at first it was insanely packed, which I guess that's how Buc-ee's lives.
Yes.
But yeah, it was crazy. I was debating when I was leaving what I wanted to do, if I wanted to just get home as fast as possible, if I wanted to sit down somewhere and eat after calling the game. I opted for the in-between. I got out of town and stopped at Buc-ee's and got food and sat and ate in the car and chilled out for just a little bit and then drove back. The brisket sandwich is very, very good. I think it gets a little overrated at times from some people. If there was a Buc-ee's like near me, I would still probably go to a barbecue restaurant if I wanted a brisket sandwich. But it was really good for what it is, for fast food at a gas station. It's really freaking good. What do they call them? Beaver chips. They're little like hand cut potato chips.
The beaver chips?
That's what I just said. Beaver chips. Yes. Is that what it is?
These nuggets, according to the boss.
No, I didn't have. No, they weren't nuggets. No. That's incorrect. They were the potato chips.
Potato chips. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sizzling saltines we've had, but not the.
No. I think they were beaver chips is what they were.
Beaver
called.
nuggets?
No, they weren't nuggets. They were not nuggets. They were chips.
Okay.
They were not called nuggets. I wish I'd kept the bag, because I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, it was really, really good. I like hand cut potato chips that are not super crispy, and some of these were. They were really, really good. This was not a big bag, so yeah, this was something different. Coco and Badger, this was something different. It was a small bag. I wish it had a little bit more in it actually, but no, they were really, really good. So yes, as Ricky says, Buc-ee's is not just a gas station; it's an experience. It's a something.
Yes.
It's a something, that's for sure. And it was full of Atlanta United fans, which was pretty cool to see. Okay, let me jump back into the Twitch pitch and grab some other stuff. Okay, Colonel, the Milo's is not for everybody because the sauce, I guess, is probably a little bit different, but I really, really liked it. And when I couldn't check into my hotel because every college sports team in the vicinity was in the same hotel and checking in all at the same time, when I was trying to get checked in before, I actually got there earlier than I'd initially planned so I could get checked in and relax before our show at Ghost Train Brewing. I couldn't get checked in because multiple buses pulled up all at the same time. So I went to Milo's, and it was very good. It was very, very good. The apple pie at Milo's was the revelation this time around because I didn't have that last time. And it's a traditional apple pie that you would get at a burger place, but it's like jacked up to a 10.
Nice.
Like cinnamon in the apple sauce part of it, like really strong cinnamon taste, powdered sugar on top. It was very, 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 very good. Highly recommended. And the sauce, look, I like it. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Jason Nick says, wasn't there some kind of an incident with Phil Foden at a boxing match on Saturday? Man City got to keep him away from Grealish. Jason, you should study into this a little bit more because City has put out a statement about it, and it was Foden and his family that were assaulted and abused by people. It wasn't Foden causing problems, at least according to Manchester City, and they probably wouldn't have made a statement if they'd had some information that he was causing the problems. But on top of like that, and then the awful scenes in the Leeds Manchester United game and audio that you could hear and some really disgusting chants and things that were being said and pennies being thrown or coins or whatever being thrown, hitting a player. Look, this stuff's got to stop. And please don't allow it to come into MLS on a regular basis, and don't allow it to come into Atlanta on a regular basis. And if you see people doing this stuff, tell them to stop. It's not anything to celebrate. And yes, the Leeds-Manchester United rivalry is a rivalry. Doesn't mean you have to throw things on the field and say the most horrible, vile things in chant form that you can possibly say. So it's disgusting. And if you don't like a guy and you see him at a big sporting event, you don't have to yell at him and his family. Can we just stop being awful to each other, please? I know it's not going to stop, but I'm not going to stop telling you to stop being awful to people. And if you can stop being awful to people around you or not start being awful to people around you, then hey, it's a win. We're not going to get everybody, but we can at least get a few people. Ugh. Uncle No Pockets, question, no work today. Should I play disc golf? I've never played disc golf, Unc. I like regular golf and I like foot golf, but I've never played disc golf. Yes, you should. If it's a nice day and you want to get outside, yes, you absolutely should.
Yes.
I don't know what the weather is.
Yeah, if you can get in 18 and disc golf is your thing, go play disc golf. Absolutely.
Well, you don't have to get an 18. I mean, if you want to play 9, you play 9. But I don't know what your weather situation's looking like, Unc. But yes, you should do something and enjoy your day off for sure. Ricky Ricardo asks, who is going to be at the block party on Saturday? I'm not. I'm going to be prepping for the game, so I will not be at the block party. It's over at Pullman Yards, if I remember correctly, and should be really cool. I will be prepping and watching the first day of MLS intently with all of the chaos that I am expecting. So I'll be watching Charlotte in DC. Probably pull up the radio call from WFNZ and Will and Jess on that one. Be watching the other games as well. Just getting ready for all of the chaos for this upcoming season. Okay, going next. Yes, Coco, as we were talking about people who are like, MLS is a minor league, so I do not like it. They're not soccer people who use that argument. I really need to track where it started because I'm assuming it is from some circle of the Bird app that I don't follow on a regular basis, but I have my guesses on where it could be coming from because it seems to be repeated regularly. But yes, again, these are the people who will watch the Fun Belt or the Maction or whatever and be like, this is the greatest thing ever. But then they don't watch a minor league soccer league when they don't seem to understand that there's not one major league. That's why everything's set up entirely differently. Go have the argument about England and Germany and Italy and Spain and see where it goes. Go have that one to see which one's the major league.
Yeah.
Yeah, Unc, fun's fun. It's a dumb argument. It's people who wouldn't watch anyway. It's not coming from the soccer crowd generally. I'm sure there's probably some Euro snobs who will break that one out occasionally, but they're the ones who are missing out by not watching Copa Libertadores or watching the Argentine League or Liga MX or MLS or any of these things anyway. Fun's fun. Doesn't matter what level it's at. Let's see. Patrick wants to know, are you broadcasting from a Japanese capsule hotel?
No.
Well, no, you're not. That was an easy answer, John. It's no, you're not in Japan.
No, I'm not. We are in a hotel in downtown Birmingham that was renovated from an old office building. So if you are in the internal rooms, the ones on the outside walls have windows and there are some on the inside walls that do not. So I imagine that probably sometime in the early 20th century, this was an executive office for whatever the previous business was here.
Okay.
So some grand exalted poobah for whatever the business was in this office, and now it's a hotel room.
But confirmed, it is not a Japanese capsule hotel.
No, I am not in Japan, considering I was at the match at Protective yesterday, and that would be a heck of a flight for me to leave immediately after the game was over to go to Japan to be in a Japanese hotel room for the show this morning.
I mean, look, if you want to do that, you want to do that. That's cool.
That'd be a little tiring, I think.
Yeah, but you could still do it if you wanted to, but you did not. You did not do that.
Well, you're still here in Birmingham for the morning and heading back this afternoon.
Update from Derek Ray. Dortmund says the Gio Reyna injury, not as serious as once feared, should be able to return to team training in the next 14 days. That's great news. Coco reminds us that Cookout is, in fact, for everybody. There's probably somebody who doesn't like Cookout. They try to be for everybody with their menu.
Mm-hmm.
They really do try to be for everybody. But there's probably somebody out there because there's haters. I mean, there's somebody who's going to be there. There's probably a Milos fan who hates Cookout. There's probably, even though they'd be wrong, like Wendy's fans who hate Cookout. But yes, Cookout tries to be for everybody. That's really, really good.
And their shakes to go with the burgers and fries are amazing as well.
Other places have shakes too. It's true. It happens. I did not have the shake at Milo's. Abby says Milo's was okay. Like the fries. I like the fries too. Look, Milo's is different. That's why they probably have 15 locations versus some others. But it's pretty cool. I'm a big fan. Uncle says Daddy D's is for everybody. See, now here we go. Bart was very excited about the Bucky story. Bart was very excited when I tweeted it last night. He was anxiously awaiting this segment.
Anxiously awaiting the brisket intake, yes.
Says, my review of the brisket sandwich is the sauce needs to have a bit of spice to it. I needed more sauce on mine. Look, maybe I just got a little unlucky, but yeah, I'd like a little more spice to it. I'm cool with that. I just needed more sauce. He says the sauce is too sweet. I didn't have that concern as much, but I wanted a little more of the sauce. And if you had more spice to the sauce that I had, then I could work with that too. I could work with that. I'm not a jerky fan, so no, I don't do the jerky anywhere. But I hear the jerky is very good at the Buc-ee's. I did not have the brisket grilled cheese. That sounds really interesting, Dead Again.
That does sound interesting.
He says they added the sauce to that, and Dead Again did not like the sauce on that. We could have a third kit with the Buc-ee's beaver on it. That's cool, Martha. I could work with that. Nick's got caught reading headlines from anti-Phil Foden sources and anti-Manchester City outlets. Yes. Gotta dig beyond it, Jason. Gotta dig beyond it. Throwing the things on the field, all that stuff, Coco. I'm really agitated by it. Alex says, do you know what wasn't awful? Chris Wood being reported to the referee for meowing at Zuma all match.
Oh, wow.
That's some trash talk. Good grief.
I did not know this.
Jeez. Anyway,
wow.
I'll leave that one alone. Zuma's that's absurd what he did. People like the disc golf. Very cool. Badger said disc golf is better than what I'm doing right now on my day off. Making a test and grading essays. Yes, disc golf would beat that. That is true.
Yes.
Uncle, you sound like you're set. You got 2 courses in a dispensary within a mile of your house. Yeah, you're good. Go play some disc golf, my friend.
Maybe get in 36.
Hey, all good. Hey, it doesn't matter if you play 9 or 36. It's all good. I'll call the SEC elitist out, Coco. That's cool. I mean, anybody who's like, I only watch the SEC. No, there's good games in other conferences too. And there's good games in the NFL. And there might be a good game in the USFL or the CFL or whatever else. If you're one of those guys, you're going to watch all of it. And some of these guys who do that then go to the high school game on the Friday too.
Check.
So just stop. Well, you work at the high school game. That's different. That's a different conversation. You don't get to say check on that. You're getting paid to be there. I'm talking about I only watch the best league in the major league. And then tweets about Bowling Green and Akron on Tuesday. Good grief.
Some of it is painful on Tuesday. Most of it is actually.
Now here we go. John being the elitist and the hater. I'm not surprised. England guy.
No,
most of it's bad on Tuesday.
I will watch Maction.
And you just said most of it was painful.
On Tuesday. The 2 words that were added to the end.
What does that have to do with it?
If I'm looking at Maction or Sunbelt on a Saturday, I'll watch it on a Saturday. But sometimes when you have the quick turns, when it's a Friday night, Tuesday night, or they're having to do a quick schedule, or they haven't played in a week and a half, it can be some painful stuff.
Sure, but you can also have some wild, crazy stuff too.
Absolutely.
And people talk about it. That's all I was saying.
Absolutely, you can.
You went elitist on us. You're trying to fix it. That's funny.
I did not go elitist.
Yes, you do about England, so it fits. Bart says, pretty sure it's a talking point within certain capital J journalists for other traditional sports. That's where that comes from. That comment of, well, MLS is a minor league. Why are you getting excited about a minor? It's coming from other sports people, not from inside the soccer world. Of those people will say it in a different way.
Yes.
The staid line that is being used is coming from other sports people. And yes, I've seen it from capital J journalists, and I've seen it from fans too.
whoever sent that memo out, it's worked because I see it repeated, and it's very, very funny because yes, then those people will get excited about a college game or even a lower level college game or whatever because it's crazy and we all love crazy stuff in sports. But I don't watch minor league. They're trying to do that instead of saying, I don't like soccer because they can't keep recycling the Louis Grizzard piece from 1983 to do that. Because at some point in 2022, that gets thrown in the trash. And this is what's great about Mike Goodman's piece at AL.com because not a soccer guy, obviously didn't really understand some of the things that were going into the match yesterday. That's fine. Didn't write the anti-soccer piece. Didn't write the minor league sport. Didn't write that stuff. Had fun with it and got into it. Cool. Incorrect. That's fine. I can work with that. That's a whole lot better than recycling Louis Grizzard takes from 80s and 70s or the updated take of, well, it's a minor league, so I don't watch it. Why are you excited about it? Because you're not watching England either. That's just you're trying to be more clever and failing miserably.
Yeah.
So it's dumb. Enjoy whatever sport you want to enjoy. Enjoy whatever league you want to enjoy. Nothing's wrong with the Fun Belt, Turner. Relax. Turner says the max marketing plan to degenerates on Tuesday nights is outstanding. I would agree. Ricky wasn't sitting here like taking notes on what I'm missing. Never anything positive. It's always, you missed this. You missed that. I got the Gio Reyna update eventually. You guys wanted to talk about sandwiches for a while, so we did. And then Neymar's comments to MLS are a waste of time because every player says this kind of stuff at this point. Neymar said he might play in MLS rather than going back to Brazil, which I can't really blame him for that because we've talked about the Brazilian league all the time and all the chaos with that. He also made the joke comment about a long off season, and hey, we know Neymar likes his vacations.
That he does, especially right now.
That got a bunch of headlines, and you knew that it would, and I don't really care. Neymar will play in MLS at some point, as will Lionel Messi, I think, if the timing works out for him, as will most top players now. And that's good. That doesn't make it a retirement league. That is not a bad thing. It's none of it. If you get some of the biggest players in the world to come here at different points in their career, cool. The league can't be solely based on those guys. If those guys are the cherry on top, great. You need to get more guys from Europe coming at 29, 30, 31, and you need to keep bringing in the best of South America and keep developing players, and you can have all of it. You can have every bit of it, and it'll be fun. But yeah, Neymar's comments on MLS got overplayed, in my opinion. Ricky, man, taking notes, always marking against me. Jeez. Let's see. What would it take for John to use Verbo on these road trips?
Not getting miles and points out of the deal.
Okay. You didn't get miles on this trip.
We did.
You did?
Yeah.
What miles did you get?
Attached to the hotel chain that we're involved.
You got miles on the hotel chain for driving to Birmingham?
Sorry, I got points.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, and actually, in using credit cards gets you miles. So using a particular credit card for some of the
okay, yes, there you go. There's where you fix it.
The points are accrued.
You're getting points. Yeah, however it works out, you're getting points.
Getting points
and
using credit cards get you miles.
Do you know what the Verbo is?
I know what the Verbo is because I have seen the commercials.
Okay. Yeah. Just checking.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I did not have the Milo shake, Abby. I'll have to try that next time. The End-All says Milo's is great. My kind of people, the End-All. I like it. Jason Nix has never had the cookout. Not one near him. Never had it. Jason Nix, you're going to have to rectify that.
Exactly.
And cookouts are starting to be everywhere. So I think that they might rectify that themselves. Domer shows up with someone say spicy barbecue sauce. Domer was trashing music from Alabama yesterday on Twitter too. And he was drinking the Haterade. There's a lot of good artists from Alabama.
And
of all different varieties.
That is correct. And Domer, side note, we are running low. So whenever you make your next batch, we would like the next batch of Domo sauce to make its way to Office HD.
Placing orders for barbecue sauce on the show.
I am.
Domer wants Buc-ee's to be the next Atlanta sponsor. Buc-ee's might be taking over the world, so I guess it's possible.
Kidding.
Ricky was, he says, a non-zero chance that he was jealous that Birmingham Legion has Coca-Cola as their kit sponsor. It'd be cool. It's all about the cash. I will take a sponsor that gives the team the most amount of money that can then allow you to spend it on players. And if that is a different company than one that looks nice on the front of the shirt, then that's fine.
Sure. Yep.
And I think Atlanta, in terms of their sponsor with the front of the shirt, has done great. And they got, I think, in with AmFam at the right time when they were really expanding how much they were spending on sports marketing and getting into that world, and probably did a really good deal for the club, considering how long it's been, and I would assume how lucrative it's been. I don't know the numbers.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got as we get close to wrapping up. Man, you guys keep throwing things at us. Let's see. Burns says the New Zealand own goal hat trick is a headline everywhere in European media, even the ones who barely report on women's soccer. It is going to follow her forever. I hate it. It's just one of those crazy things that'll happen that it's like, oh, yeah, wacky soccer thing. Here it is. And this is from soccer publications. It's, it happens. Everybody does it. I feel bad for the player, though, because you're right. That's all anybody's going to talk about with her. And I would say that it happens like to that level. It doesn't really happen on a regular basis, but own goals happen, and it stinks. Mm-hmm. Patrick following along on my Louis Grizzard comments. Louis Grizzard went back to that well several times over his career. Stumbled across one the other day during newspaper research. I have too, as I've dug back into soccer articles looking for things, and in the AJC, and find another one like, oh wow, that's about the same thing that was written 3 years before. Oh, 3 years later, here's another one. Yes. Guess it was time to hit that one again. Now Ricky's yelling at me in all caps about I did miss it. Man, crazy.
Now it's a Monday.
It's rough. You guys, I mean, if we're 1 minute late, we get yelled at. If we don't hit every single headline in the world in our 2-hour show, we get yelled at. Jeez. No soccer over there tonight. We're on hiatus until Nick gets back from the motherland, and he might not come back from the motherland. So I don't know. He's enjoying himself quite a bit from the videos I'm seeing. Yes, I went on a rant about Buc-ee's. Man, Ricky, you're jeez. I'm going to red card Ricky in the chat here in a minute. Good grief. And no, I'm not always looking at the chat at all times during the show, because sometimes it gets a little out of hand, and I got to focus on what we're talking about. It can't be purely a back and forth with the Twitch pitch at all times during the show. We have some things that we want to talk about, and we put in the time to prepare for the show and do the research and have things we want to talk about. I'll get on a soapbox from time to time, so sometimes I got to switch it, not look at the Twitch pitch, and do a show. Sorry.
We got topics and breaking news, yo.
Jeez, I mean, I'm sorry. Ricky says, when I put it in here 4 times before you say it, I'm going to call you out. I'm not watching it the whole time, Ricky. Good grief.
Man, Ricky,
do a show and hit the points you want to hit then. Jeez.
Ricky's all kinds of fire.
Yes, yes, Rich Boy Throw Some D's would have made a good selection on the full-time report. I had 3 songs. I picked 3 different ones. I'm going to stop for the day because I'm just messing everybody up and angering everybody. He's still yelling at me. Good grief. Next time, Ricky, send me the show you want so I can do the show you want so you don't yell at me during the show. How about that?
Ricky's running.
Probably won't happen. We're 2 hours in anyway. I'm tired. Ricky does need a timeout, Alex Bassine. It's true.
Oh, wow.
I need a timeout. I need to go to sleep. I didn't sleep very well after driving back last night because I'm always wired.
Yeah.
And it just takes so long to wind down. It was annoying. I do like driving at night, though. Just rocking the tunes out, listening to whatever. Very easy drive to Birmingham. And I do recommend, if you get a chance, if there's a matchup, you want to go see a USL Championship game this season, that is a stadium that is a good one for the game. Go check it out. Tell the Magic City Brigade that we sent you.
Yes.
Fun guys. They were great with us on Saturday. Man, they hate Memphis. They hate Memphis with a passion. Ghost Train Brewing, really cool spot to check out in Birmingham. I think Atlanta and Birmingham will probably be a regular thing in preseason. It's just perfect. for this stage of the preseason. We've seen it so many years. I think we'll see it again. So you can check Milo's out at that time. You can check Bucky's out at that time. You can go to Jack's if you want to check out a different burger chain that's not in Georgia. You can check them out. Make sure you check with Ricky Ricardo, though, or he's going to yell at you if you don't do the right things. And we'll try to do better tomorrow. We'll be back in the morning at 9:05. Tomorrow we've got Dylan Butler, and we get deep into MLS with a lot of headlines all over the place. Thank you for your time. Maybe even Ricky and others. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Much platiel.
Much platiel.
Man, yelled at all the time.